Well, I don't normally like this dimension, but we're going to go for it today. This is Laura from the Yarn Closet in Southern Arizona. It's the last day of spring break. I may post a video I did yesterday. I may not. I haven't decided yet. So, somebody was asking me, I've actually gotten this question quite a few times. What's it like to live so close to the Arizona-Mexico border? And I don't know where my round glasses went. I don't know. I put them down somewhere. I can't find them. I don't know. And I'm getting a haircut this week. Just a trim. So this weird front chunk that does nothing but annoy me might be improved. I'm thinking overall she's just going to trim off like 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. Because I do like a more blunt, longer hair deal. We'll see. I don't know. But that's like my intention. Even if we cut off to like back up here, what's that? 6 months? No, it's not 6 months. It's a couple months of growth. I don't know. We'll see what she does. And I'm not loving it, but I'm not hating it. If I were to wash my hair and blow dry it every day, it would probably bother me less. I just don't like to do that. And someday I will probably go shorter again, unless I do get longer and all of a sudden love it. Because God, if I got it this much longer, I might love it again. Who knows? I love the color of my hair. I don't love my big forehead, and I don't love bangs. Go back and look at the bangs. Bangs are bad on me. And you're going to say, no, this doesn't work on me either. This kind of worked a little bit when it was shorter. But if I just had a chunk of this that was like here, I don't actually think that would do a lot, except annoy me. Because I don't think it would do a lot, and I would just tuck it behind here and have it kind of harder to my head. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. The answer would be living a few blocks away from a salon and being able to walk to a salon myself and not having to make it 16 people's ordeal to get an appointment. Because I got to find people who can get me cash and give me cash for a check. And then I got to find a time when I can get somebody to drive me there. And then it just feels like cumbersome. I wish I lived in an environment where I could walk to a lot of things. That would make me very happy. But this is a knitting podcast, so let's update on some knitting and crocheting items. Do I have any crocheting items? I think I only have knitting items right now. Doodly-doo-doo-doo. I love you. I still have an end to weave in. And I have not started the next one. That's where we're at. We finished it. It's a little on the short side, but that's fine because these are for my daughter for next year, and I have not even started the next one. Because I think I did 8 different gloves, and then you kind of get over it. Well, 9. And then I'm doing this like blanket pashmina kind of thing. That came out of one of my books. I think it's still in the house. It's a very simple pattern that I really like. It's easy to follow. Have I messed up on it? Yes, a couple times. Can I tell? Sort of. It takes some effort because this is a very textural deal. Do I love the yarn that I picked to make it out of? Not so much anymore. I know that this is a Briggs & Little that will be a little bit more flowy after I block it, wash it and block it, but not that much so it'll be more blankety. And all of a sudden, that doesn't thrill me. I haven't had a lot of time in the last couple of weeks because I've been trying to really be engaged with the kids on the break, and we've been doing activities. We went to Colossal Cave, and my daughter might be a little claustrophobic and afraid of heights. She had a couple of overnights at the grandparents'. I had some trips with my son into town to do doctors with my dad, and we also did the Mescal movie set. So I live by Tombstone, Arizona. And people think, oh, the movie was filmed in Tombstone, Arizona. No, it wasn't, because the town wouldn't shut down enough for them to film the movie there. So the movie was actually filmed on the Mescal movie set and what's called Old Tucson, which is a similar set on the west side of Tucson. So you get different mountain views in the background. The Quick and the Dead, Young Guns, things like that were filmed on the Mescal movie set back in the day. My husband was actually in as a background player in Young Guns, and a horseback rider in a couple of other things around the same time. His mom was in like dozens back in the day. But we decided to drive over to Tombstone the other day and do my daughter insisted that we get a picture done in regular color for my mom because that'll be easier for my mom's vision. And here's the sepia toned one. I dislike greatly this stinking stupid bonnet hat. I even did my hair up in a more of a, looked very twisty like they would have their hair. I did my daughter in a similar thing. Can't tell. Can't tell at all. And they didn't even have my dress quite right, but, because it's just something you put on over, but I had to take my top off. I like this one because you can see the kid, the boy, but the boy liked one of the other ones where one of his eyes was covered up more. I didn't see this, or I wouldn't have picked this one, but nobody was really helping Mom. It's a very fast-paced thing. They don't have a lot of costumes. They don't have a lot of backdrops. It's a very fast-paced thing. And I'm the decision maker because everybody else is too slow at making decisions. So I just had to kind of get it done. So that's 2 out of my 4 current projects, my current whips. This is all I got for whips. I'm not keeping whips for a long, long time. Remember how I got the new needle? I finally got a needle. Well, I like working sweaters even on 16, 24, 32s. This is the 40, I think. Which gives you a greater idea of the actual size. This is going to be much bigger than I anticipated it to be. I don't know if I'm gonna like that or not. So I haven't made much progress on that. I mean, and because it's so much bigger now, it goes a lot slower because when your stitches are forcibly jammed all together, you end up knitting a row much faster. Is that the point of it anymore? No. The point of it's to really enjoy it. And there's this whole thing. Are you a process knitter or are you a project knitter? Or is it a process or a product? Is that what it is? Process and product? So I do like certain knitting for the process of it, to learn a new skill, to understand a new construction method. I love the architecture that's in clothing. I love the how do you make it fit business. That fascinates me. I love architecture on buildings. I love architecture on cakes. How things go together, I really do like. So I do like coming up with a new process of knitting and to learn. And I did learn a lot of different crochet styles and techniques. Now, many of them I didn't do much of because I just didn't really love them. And yes, you have to do something a fair amount before you really get a feel for it. But it's the same thing with spinning. I tried like 4 different kinds of spinning, short of spending hundreds on an actual spinning wheel, treadle wheel. Because my theory is I might actually like that, but because it's very textural. But if I couldn't love the textural component of like the drop spindle or some of the e-machines or whatever, then I just didn't think that I would really love it. I've had multiple styles of flat knitting machines and circular sock machines. I love cranking on a sock machine. It's just not good for this shoulder or this side of my neck business. I have one flatbed knitting machine left. And I have to do just very simple things with that. And not a lot in one day, because unless I do it with my left hand instead of my dominant hand, my right hand, it's just a lot of stress on that shoulder that I have issues with. It's also why I switched from crocheting to knitting to begin with, was because I was starting to have a lot of problems in my neck and that shoulder side. Now, I did spend a couple of years going to the chiropractor, and in some ways, I absolutely believe in the chiropractors, absolutely. He wasn't pushing me to go more often, which makes me question, because I really believe that my body wasn't holding up between adjustments. And there's a fine line between seeing somebody when they don't really need it and then when they do need it. So I really should be going in every 2 weeks to help with my... Now, these are my problems when I'm fixed. My problems when I'm fixed are that my neck can only fix to a certain extent. There's ankylosing spondylitis going on there. And my lower back and my right hip. I've also got a left knee issue and a right ankle issue. So if I can't keep things kind of adjusting on their own without seeing him on a regular basis, and if I had insurance, which I do, but he doesn't take insurance and he's my only option. If I lived in Tucson and could go to somebody who took my insurance, and I believe that my insurance has coverage for twice a month, I'd absolutely be using it and going. The fact that I have to pay out of pocket here, and I tried submitting, that didn't go over well with my insurance. So I just, I'm just where I'm at with it for right now. With the vibration plate and with the rebounding small trampoline, and I've got a couple of chirp wheels and the chirp wheel thing for your neck, I think I'm doing all right. Anytime since I stopped going, which was about a month ago, that I've had issue, I've been able to get back into sorts within a day or so. I do believe that the last 7 weeks of more walking, so I'm walking somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 steps a day, where last year I was averaging just under a mile a day of walking. This year already I'm averaging just over 2 miles a day. I think that's wonderful. If I could get up to 10,000, I think that'd be fabulous. You asked me, what's holding you back? Well, there was a like trying to get my family adjusted to it. I can absolutely go walk for 2 hours after I get home from dropping my daughter at school in the morning. Why not? And then do my rebounding and my vibration plate and maybe a little bit of Lucy Wyndham Reed's HIIT workouts. Because I think I have to get back to a little bit more focused attention to my midsection. I can absolutely do all of that. Absolutely. The one downside is the wall shared with my yarn closet here is the master bedroom. So if my husband, when we get back from taking her to school, goes and lays down, then I don't want to do a lot in here that's noisy, like jumping and vibrating and stuff. But, you know, that's not going to stop me, because it hasn't stopped me for the last couple of months of getting them all used to where I'm at now, which is that I'm unavailable. And I've kept it up for the 2 weeks of spring break where I'm unavailable for an hour and a half in the morning. So to up it to, 2.5 hours, 3 hours a day, why not? I sure could do that. Now, here's the deal. That seems crazy, doesn't it? Why would anyone have to exercise that much? It's not that I have to. I'm doing these things because the rebounding, the vibration plate, they really help with balance, and apparently the vibration plate has measurable bone growth after 2 months of use. From everything I can find, only 10 minutes a day. Some things have said 20 minutes a day, so I've thought about upping it, but I'm having to get to a point where I feel like I can do that, because you'd think, oh, just stand there for 20 minutes. That's easy. I don't actually like being bored. I'm not a person who can just sit and be bored. I like to be engaging my mind. I like to be doing something. So I've been working this last week at figuring out different things that I can do while I'm doing the vibration plate to improve my balance and make it a little bit, like, make the time fly a little bit more. And I'm not doing any of this because of my waistline. I'm doing it because it makes me less crabby, because it makes me less of a fall risk, because I'm over the age of 50 and I want to be around as long as possible for my kids, because I still have a child on the verge of finishing 3rd grade. My 16-year-old will not be rushing out of the house at 18. He will not. He'll still have a year left of community college. I don't know that he'll be working before he's actually done with his community college deal. And then he may end up going back. He'll be 17 when he graduates high school. He's on the spectrum. That means he's a little bit more immature. We've been highly isolated. I mean, everybody has been now, and everybody now has a better understanding of what that means. So I think his introduction into adult life is just going to be much slower paced. We look at our 29-year-old and love you, kiddo, but you've only really had your poo together for the last 2 years. And it took getting to the point of almost homeless to get there. He had a couple of really rough moments along the years, and you'd think it would only take one, but it didn't. It took a couple. And now but it also took falling into a job that was really his niche. And I actually think that's much harder to find nowadays, because unless your niche is to be in healthcare, unless your niche is to be in the school systems, being in teaching, unless your niche is to be in retail or restaurant service, the office scenarios are just so vastly different nowadays, because of working from home and all this stuff. I think it's just hard for kids to figure out kind of what to train for. And I think there is a certain measure of trial and error, because I remember going out and having my first job at 14 in an office. And you're like, 14? You can't work at 14. Well, actually you can. There are ways around it. But I did like mailroom. I did like accounting assistant things. I did some data processing. I did switchboard stuff. I mean, I did a lot of different things to figure out what kind of office environment I actually liked working in. I worked in a number of different industries. I liked working in an office that had a component of manual labor to it. So like being an accountant in a moving company where you had truck drivers and day laborers and, you know, all these people doing the more manual labor stuff was enjoyable to me. I liked that environment. I didn't like the super tight 3-piece suit thing. That wasn't my cup of tea. I was shockingly good at being a salesperson in a certain industry, but didn't love it. And I think that had more to do with the company I worked for than anything else. I have liked being an at-home mom. I love my kids. I love being able to be more involved. It was more fun with the other one that I got to be the librarian at the school. I was more involved with the school, with volunteering for years in schoolroom, classroom stuff, until they realized the blind lady could do stuff. Well, then why do you want to be called blind if you want people to think you can do stuff? Because I want them to understand there are limits to the situation. And I know that's confusing, that's annoying, that's whatever. But guess what? My son who's on the spectrum, his generation, at least 50% of the kids in that generation are on the spectrum or have ADHD so severely that they need medication, they need accommodation. So I think that this reality of life where there is more understanding that people need accommodation in the workforce is it's coming fast, people. I think it's already there to some extent, but it's coming fast where it'll be on a bigger scale, where people will have to accommodate on a bigger scale. I think that's part of why the working from home thing has become so huge, because once we realized we could do it, and then the people who realized a lot of my accommodation needs are kind of met as if I'm working from home more and not having to be in that forced social environment of the workplace. So yeah, that's my little aside on that note. So obviously these are working much better. I just don't like that they're so long and I couldn't find a shorter version. That was the bummer. And now I figured out where the cat ball is because it's in this thing. And then here is this one. Okay. So this is a panel. I think I should have done a bigger here with the garter stitch, but I didn't. And this is just flat knitting and then backwards knitting, back and forth, because I like to backwards knit. So I'm down to about here. I'm gonna go a little bit further. I'm gonna go further. And then I'm gonna start weaving in every couple of rows the next color, and it's that desert rainbow colors that I have. And so this will also be pashmina-like. I'm hoping that maybe if I have pashmina-y things, maybe. The thing is, does actually get really cold where I live, but I don't go anywhere, so then I don't need stuff to go anywhere. I like the process of learning different things and knitting in different ways. I like the products that I knit, and some I've used quite a bit. I need to get back to knitting some hats because I think I could use a few hats, but I need more like the fingering weight kind of deal. The fingerless gloves, really love those. I love the mittens too. The sweaters that I knit, I don't wear very often, but I live in Arizona. I think if I lived somewhere else, I'd be knitting different style sweaters, but I'd be wearing them more. Like if I lived back in Minnesota, Michigan, the Midwest somewhere. And you never know, I might be a reverse snowbird someday. We have no idea. I didn't think 5 years ago that I'd be here today with all of the stuff in between. 2019. Think back to 2019, folks. Did you honestly think all of this was going to have happened between then and now? My husband almost died July of 2019 from systemic sepsis. There's an autoimmune component to his gene disorder, and which is an interstitial lung disease also, and he had appendicitis at the same time. That was crazy. And then I had already just gone through being at the hospital that February with my dad. My dad's adamant that it was actually in 2020. It wasn't. It was in 2019. And that was tough because we spent over a week in the hospital with him and that go around. He had a twisted intestines, and they really weren't dealing with it quite the way that once he got out and they figured out what was going on, they looked back and said, well, maybe we should have done this. Thank God it hasn't happened again, because we were very paranoid it was going to happen again. And it still might someday, who knows? But it's like, if you stop and think 5 years ago, what's happened in the last 5 years? I keep trying to explain this to my kids. Life is a marathon, but life is a marathon, but everything keeps changing. You're really not standing still. Do I wish that I would have bought one home when I was young and stayed in one home? Sometimes. But I love the experience of all the different homes I've owned and all the different stuff I've done to them, because that's been a big part of the activity of my life, and I enjoy remodeling and redecorating, and even on the farm end of things. That adds a whole different fun component to it. I have loved the animals that we've had and what we've done with animals in the farming. I've not loved the gardening business. I love that I can live 20 minutes away from where I did live, an hour away from the city I lived in, and that the three environments weather-wise are so dramatically different. I've loved learning that. That's been fun and exciting. I will fall back to Do the things that get you peace and happiness in your life. Walking for 45 minutes to an hour just to get in my 6,000 steps, and having gotten to that 6,000 steps has been good for me. Upping it might be even better. And it's just been good for me in my ability to balance things out. Also, I've learned, I really do believe, with all my decades of women in weight, your diet impacts your weight far more than your exercise routine. Because even if you are doing high-end, hardcore exercise for a couple of hours a day, first, who can do that if they actually work? Why do my eyes look a little bit more? Am I just seeing things? And yes, if you can build some muscle, that's going to burn a lot more. If you can eat a lot more protein, that's going to help you. Fresh air is going to, I think, help you. I think that's been a big part of this, is just being outside for that amount of time every day has really helped me. The last 10 days cat sitting, just like in October when I cat sat and I had to be out walking back and forth, it's nice to have a purpose. It's super nice to have a purpose, even if it's a small one. So find a purpose, even if it's a small one, and that's going to keep you going. I've been thinking a lot about my dad and his comments about, why am I still here? I don't know. But I don't think it's to just sit alone in your apartment and wait for once a week when my stepdad picks you up to take you grocery shopping and out to eat. I think if you want to feel like there's more purpose in your life, you've got to put it in there. And purpose comes with people. Purpose comes with people. Go out and volunteer with bingo again. Go out and play some card games a couple times a week if you're not golfing. It doesn't matter if you don't know the people. Once you start doing it, you'll know them. Our purpose is people. I believe that wholeheartedly. So, and yes, your purpose can be animals, but there's people attached to those animals. And it's being engaged in a greater community that I think gives people that sense of purpose. I know that when I don't feel like I've got enough connection going on in my life, that's when I'm the most depressed and most sad, whatever. So look with your heart first, not your eyes. And I'm hoping everybody has a great third week in March of 2024. See you next week.